we had dinner in there, and the server comes up and he's like, "Can I take a picture with your son?" I said, okay, it's kind of weird, but sure. No problem.
Kind of
so
weird.
he walks in, takes a picture. I said, "What? I mean, do you watch him race?" No, he's just the only child that's ever been into this restaurant.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go on the ball. What a race! California's Kevin Harvick does it. Straight making right there. You're the man.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by Nascar on Fox. I'm Kevin Harvick. She's Kaitlyn Vincie, and he's Mamba Smith.
The new and improved with no hair.
He's adulting.
Yeah, he is. Do you want to show us?
I mean, a little cutout and no grease this morning.
Look at that.
If
that
you're
makes
just
me
listening.
so happy.
Yeah.
He's literally
cut all
never
his hair
smiled
off.
at me so hard until he came
did.
He was cheesy.
He really did. Yeah, I think
was
he's
so
just proud
happy
of
when
you
I walked
for.
in, I said, "Can you imagine how much money Mamba is going to save every month now?"
No,
That's probably true.
the thing. I know. Now I have to go get a haircut twice a month.
Really?
Yeah, it's gonna grow, and I got to keep it crispy.
Keep it
Okay.
crispy.
Well.
And also, we got the memo on the flannel.
Yeah, where's your flannel?
Kevin did not.
I feel like I'm overdressed.
You don't. Do you even own flannel? I don't
do
see
have
it.
flannels, but it's
Okay.
it's still fairly warm outside.
It is. You're right.
In here, it's fairly cool.
Yeah,
It's freezing
So
in
you
here,
do have to
but-
protect yourself against being warm in here. So if I start stuttering or my lips start quivering, you'll know that I'm on the wrong side of the dress code today.
Little
On the wrong
handshake.
side.
Little
Yeah.
handshake.
Yeah, wait, this is our fall attire, right?
Yeah, no.
This little fall
Yeah.
fit.
I'm ready for it.
And you got the flannel on today.
Yeah, look,
And
it has
the
a
Red
hoodie, too.
Sox hat.
Look at that.
Do you have a hood?
You just
Doesn't
screwed
have
up
a
your
hood.
IFB.
It's okay. I'll fix it.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
it is.
We're having a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
okay.
It's all good. All right. So we have plenty to talk about today, guys. And we encourage all the closers to keep subscribing on YouTube, leave a review, leave 5-star rating as well. Plenty to talk about leaving Bristol. A new round is upon us for the playoffs. We'll preview it. Mamba has his sips.
Ooh,
And before we start, though, I do want to say I was out at the track this weekend.
Crushing
I
it,
met-
by the way.
Oh, thanks.
On the big jumbo.
Yeah. There were so many fans who stopped to say how much they love this show. I was blown away by the amount of people who just were a fan of you, fan of the show. I met some guys from Nova Scotia
Oh wow.
that watched the show.
That's fun.
Great. Well,
Yes.
That's what we like to hear, and we're here to try to just say what we see.
Yeah.
We feel like we have a good grasp on everything that goes on every week because
Right.
we're all in different places, have a different perspective on it, and I think that's hopefully people continue to like that.
They're watching all the way in Nova Scotia.
That's great.
The guy had a big Dale Earnhardt tattoo on his calf.
Dale, 3 for Dale. You know what my favorite part is when you talk to people about it is I get some random text with random bars and the show will just be on.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And FS1.
Like, yes.
And I'm like, this is so cool. I think that's so cool. So appreciate y'all. Thank you so
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. A lot of support. I did an appearance in the suites, and all they wanted to ask me about was Kevin.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it was great. I mean, they were just asking what he's like to work with and all the things.
And
People
I
are very
think
curious
I
about you.
went through this when I went from RCR to SHR. Everybody had this weird intimidation of what was going to happen or what was going to say or I was going to tip tables over
Yeah.
or throw things at you. That's not the case, is it?
No, they were like, "What's he really like?"
Like I like people that are on time and know what they're talking about and involved.
So
in what
Kevin
you do.
loves me, but probably doesn't like you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm here for
This guy
entertainment.
he can't even print his own paper.
I print his rundown every week.
Well, that's
Every week.
Because it's nothing but love.
Uh huh.
Get a little note every week.
Someone's got to
We're-
carry
we're
this
teaching him,
ship.
though. We're teaching him slowly but surely. One step at a time. He's cut his hair, so he's obviously
Okay,
paid
so yeah, he is starting.
Yeah.
We're making progress, right?
Baby
He's-
steps. You can't get all at
Baby
one time.
steps.
That's right.
That's right. Okay, let's talk about Bristol, guys, because this was not a super eventful race.
No.
But Kyle Larson's got to be very happy after leading 462 of the 500 laps. Just a dominant
Unreal
performance.
And when you look at Bristol, we expect Kyle Larson to be good there. He loves driving the car hard. We had Kyle on the victory lap this week, and he talked about driving the car hard, and that's why he loves Bristol so much is because you can just push the car so hard. But he could run the bottom of the racetrack like nobody else could, and then he would get a big lead. He was able to kind of manage his pace, and then when he would get the traffic, he was just able to maneuver through traffic like nobody else could. So we expected him to be good. I don't know that we expected him to
yeah.
do this good, but I think that it really shows the strength of the team and the things that they do to just go there and put a butt whooping on everybody.
Yeah. I was in Victory Lane, obviously, and that team was jacked up. And some pretty cool accolades, too. The most laps ever led by a Hendrick driver, which is surprising when you think about the men who have raced there. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody who's raced there and how dominant Hendrick has been. Kyle is, he's just, this is why we say that he can drive anything. This is why we think that he can go run an F1 car. This is why if he wants to drive anything, I'm like, yeah, you're probably going to have to deal with him. He can be dominant, and when it's on, it's really, really on for them, and there's like no touching them when they get it all right. Like the only reason they lose sometimes is self-inflicted wounds.
Right.
Like it's really hard just to beat them when they're running all cylinders.
Yeah, and we've seen them dominate a lot of these races this year. And not just this year, but in the past. And when you see them close the deal like this and you listen to the way that he talked on the victory lap about the things that he's thinking about are a race driver that is maturing in a way of, okay, I've done this, and in the past we've made this mistake, we've done this. And I think a lot of people don't realize, but I believe that Kyle is kind of he's a guy that studies more than I think his competitors actually realize. And he takes to heart the things that Cliff Daniels says, but he's also, his racing IQ is very high. And I think he can look at a race and say, and he has no problem saying, oh man, that was stupid. I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have done this. Nothing phases the guy. When he hits something, when he's fast, it's the same. And he has a very objective approach of how to go out and analyze and critique himself. And now he's starting to put these things together in his mind of, oh, that was dumb, that was good, that was bad. And I think the more that he does that, the more possibility there is to see what we just saw.
What age do you think a driver is in their prime? Like, what are their prime years?
Oh, well,
there's that smirk.
I think it's that the mid 30s to 40s
like
right there, because
35.
I think that, that determination of being able to push the car like you need to push the car is really there still into your late 30s, early 40s. But I think there's so much that goes with experience to be able to help your team, to be able to not put your car in a spot that puts you in a position to get the car tore up or whatever that is. But I think that racing IQ continues to go up, especially with a guy that races as much as Kyle does. And, knowing when you know that you have fast cars and the capability to win multiple races every single year, you want to minimize those mistakes to maximize what you can with those cars. So I think his racing IQ is high already, but as he starts to realize more and more of what he needs to do to finish more and more races and not put himself in those positions to race hard and spin out or whatever the scenario is.
You mentioned the fast cars, and I want to give some credit to the team, which you had firsthand experience with that group. Cliff Daniels obviously was his crew chief when they won the championship. Same car chief and Jesse Saunders when he won the championship. That team is really, really strong as a whole.
Yeah, and it's I was fortunate to be able to kind of have a firsthand view of that at the All-Star weekend and just see how they functioned before that. And when you're functioning at a high level like that and you have a young group of guys that are really determined to put the time and the effort and the details into what's going on, that's when you see a group like this come together it's dangerous, right? Because we see, you look at his teammate, right, William Byron, right? Like they came out of the gate strong. They haven't kept up the pace of the season. These guys have been in contention week after week after week to win races. Yeah, they've made some mistakes, but I think that they're so open with each other and so critical of each other that the conversations don't offend each other, right? Like we've heard him and his spotter cuss each other out when, him
That's right.
Cliff, they get mad at each other. But when you look at Kyle, none of that stuff offends him, right? He goes back and takes an objective look at it and says, okay, well, I probably couldn't have said that. That was funny. And they move on and they figure out how to not do that the next time they have that type of situation.
Was that the first victory lap you've done with him? Because he seemed kind of down. He's like, I need to win more so I can be on here more with you, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he say
No,
that?
he's been on there. He's been on there before.
I guess Indy, maybe Indy. Yeah.
And I think, the victory lap stuff is always fun on Monday to get those guys that are able to come on the show and talk about their weekend because they're still happy and they hadn't really started to have to work. But I did see in his victory lap this week, he was at the shop and I'm pretty sure he was in Cliff's office. So I've been in that office and I think with the engineers and everything that goes on, I think they also would know that Kansas is important. Kansas is super important, and that preparation that goes into this week is going to be important because as you look at that first round, I admittedly talked about underestimating the first round of races with Atlanta starting, Watkins Glen, and going into Bristol. Wild round. Well, the next round's not much better.
Truth.
Kansas is about the only place that you control as many things as you can control, and it could get wild as well. Then you go to Talladega and the Roval. Roval's different. So this is going to be a tough round as well. They're all tough, but they're just so unique this year with guys that maybe aren't running as good. Yeah. Can go to, that are decent road racers like Suarez. That can go and score some points at the Roval, but they can also go to Talladega and win the race. So you just never know.
Kansas is a really good track for the 5 group. Like I'm sure they really have that one. Like let's go out and try to dominate, win, and then just make our way to the round.
That's right.
We're going to talk plenty about the upcoming round a little later in the show. But the guy we were all talking about going into the weekend was Denny Hamlin. And whether or not he was going to advance. I interviewed him before the race. He was super focused, like laser focused. I could tell he was in the zone. Got it done. They're in. They're advancing. Were you surprised to see that or not?
I'm not surprised because Denny he's a walking Hall of Famer. Chris Gabehart's one of the best crew chiefs in the garage. So I'm not surprised that they made it in. I will say that they executed, but it wasn't like in a dominating fact. Like they weren't anywhere close to the 5. And honestly,
nobody was.
Yeah, nobody was. And honestly, the 54 and the 19 kind of having their issues on pit road opened up to where they didn't have to push as hard. Like if you watched early on in the race, the 19 and the 54 were up front, and the way the points were, like Denny was on that fringe,
on
even
the cusp,
running like 4th. So once they kind of messed up, they didn't have to. They could kind of settle into where they were and just execute for the rest of the night. But they're in, and they're always dangerous.
Your pick's still alive. Your champion's
still alive. Yeah, but he doesn't love it.
I don't love it. I didn't love the first 2 rounds. I think they executed well this week. I think this is a tough race to go into with everything that happened in the spring with the tire, and then to come back to this race and can't wear the tire out. How do you prepare for that? And I think that a lot of teams had a decision to make during the week as to how versatile they needed their car to be in case the tires did wear out. And obviously that didn't happen. But I want to see Denny Hamlin and Chris Gabehart. Those guys are offense players. I want to see them on offense. I want to see them battling for the lead, pushing the pace of the race, controlling the race, doing what they have to do, especially when we get to Talladega. I don't want to see Denny Hamlin counting points. And I still feel like they did what they had to do this weekend, but I'd still rather see him up there battling with Kyle Larson and taking the chances to win the races instead of counting points. I don't believe that's the way you're going to win the championship with Denny Hamlin. And I think that they know that. I think they got their butt scared over the first 2 rounds in the way that they raced at Atlanta and the things that happened at Watkins Glen. Denny still having to answer all the charter questions in the media center. So I think they went to Bristol. Denny looked focused, and Chris, they had the camera on Chris the whole race. I believe those guys can go out there and smash them into the ground.
Yep.
Okay,
but they need to race like they're going to smash them in the ground, right? Like I want to, if I can smash you in the ground, I want to punch you in the face and let you know I'm here.
Look at his face,
right? I want to let you know I'm here. And I believe that those guys can do that, and I don't want to see them counting points. I'd rather see them wreck and go win 2 races in a round than count points.
Well, that was going to be my question to you guys because I think we can all agree this first round was uncharacteristic 11 teams. So do you think now they got that bad round out of the way? Could they be dangerous and now be back to their regular form?
I can't say yes for sure because it's not a light switch. You know what I mean? Like you got to kind of build into that back, but maybe it can be for them, and they kind of need it to be because we're running out of
reset.
time.
Yeah,
like they're right again, they're right towards the bottom. Like, it's not like they have a lot of room to play with. So they need to get points at Kansas. Kansas has been a good track for them in the past. But to Kevin's point, they need to be racing up front. So Denny can play the mind games, have the gamesmanship of running up front with those guys. Because when the 11 is up front and you have to race him for a win, you're not really sure what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And he put you in a bad spot like he has with Larson before. So, like, you know, they need to be there.
Here he is now, +7 to the line. But it was the dog's fault, guys. Remember? It was Lulu's fault.
Yeah.
So maybe.
What do we do with the dog?
Yeah, did the dog go to Bristol or not?
His daughter.
Ship the dog.
Denny's daughter went up to Gabe Hart. Did you guys see this video after the race? And was like, "Can we keep the dog?" And he was kind of like,
Maybe in a couple weeks.
We might have to sacrifice the dog. Take the dog and give it to somebody. You know, I think that the whole Gibbs thing is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
You know, 2 of the cars getting eliminated this week with the 54 and the 19. And I guess we should specifically talk about them because you know, the 54 has had the speed all year to win races. And it comes down to the exact same thing that happened this weekend. A mistake. And speeding penalty on pit road. Yeah, you don't want it to happen, but it happened. You know, you look back at a lot of the other races, it's been a speeding penalty or a pit road penalty or something on pit road for the most part. Engine problems with Toyota. Denny Hamlin's engine going back too early, getting the penalty, and ultimately could have put him out of the playoffs if these two guys didn't have problems. But, you know, 54 kind of self-inflicted their wound and their exit of the playoffs the same exact way that they have the whole year in not winning races. And I think when you look at the 19, I think Bob Pockris called this one dead on, not knowing if Martin was going to advance out of the first round, just with that 1 foot in, 1 foot out commitment level that, you know, I think has kind of been there for the last couple years. I saw a video on social media with James Small just going right into Michael from the upper management side of things at Joe Gibbs Racing. We saw the crew member trying to protect that conversation. And I think James is frustrated with that 1 foot in, 1 foot out commitment that Martin has. Do I retire? Do I not retire? I'll come back. They don't have anybody else. We'll put you in again and see how it goes. It's gone the exact same way the last 2 years. You cannot race this car with a 1 foot in, 1 foot out commitment because there's a workload that is required to go with this car on a week-to-week basis. And you know, I think, you know, when you look at the race, Martin was running second, made a mistake on pit road. That happens. But you can't tell me that the second place car couldn't pass one car after the pit stop. So it was, you know, you have to feel for those guys. And I think that some of James's frustration from the from the crew chief side of it is, you know, was my driver fully engaged to go do what I needed to do? And Martin kind of said it last week. You know, I'm frustrated, don't really like what I'm doing, happy it's almost over.
Yeah, the 54, I thought for Ty Gibbs it was going to be a tall order because he hadn't won yet, right? And to win in the playoffs is even harder. And I feel like you have to win at some point in this playoffs to even get to the Final Four, let alone winning the whole championship. So that I felt like that was a tall order for them, but they were fast enough. But again, their whole problem was execution and not getting caught up in other people's stuff. And either they got caught up in someone else's stuff or they you know, self-inflicted wound. And the 19 was very much the same thing. To your point, the difference was with Martin, they weren't fast enough. At least Ty had a lot of speed. Martin was fast enough this weekend, but throughout the whole season, Ty's been in the mix. So it's just like execution. This round was about executing, and if you didn't, you were going to get bit.
And I think even let's just take it a little further to the 20 car. Like, look at Christopher Bell. He's had the speed too.
Yep.
They went through just a crazy period of time where they just had all kinds of things going wrong and mistakes and those are the things that you can't do. When you look at the 5 car, they don't make that many mistakes. I mean, he does hit some things here and there, racing for the lead or racing hard, and you know, but there's very few things that I can point out on pit road where it's been a speeding penalty or the wheel falls off or something. It has happened, but it's just not as many. The Gibbs guys on pit road, it just seems like they make a ton of mistakes, and whether it's the pit crew or the driver or whatever that is, it just continues to bite them. And then you look at the engines and the issues that they've had with that side of things. But I think the performance of the 54 was very capable of making it to the second round of the playoffs and probably deeper in from a speed standpoint. I think the speed in the 19 car was plenty capable, and that car hasn't finished in the top 20 in 8 or 9 weeks.
That's crazy.
And that to me is just that's crazy that it's that point. And I think that the frustrations boiled over after the race with
for sure
with that conversation on the tailgate of that Gibbs trailer.
You mentioned teams lacking speed, and one that definitely did over the weekend was Brad Keselowski, essentially a non-factor the whole race, basically running in the low 20s the entire time. Were you surprised to see that?
I think we've been surprised about this all year. And, they had that one moment in time in the middle of the year around Darlington, the first Darlington, those 3, 4, 5 weeks right there where they had good speed. And then it's just been really hit or miss from there. Chris Buescher was obviously fast at Watkins Glen last week and did a phenomenal job to win the race and able to put it all together. But it's not been consistent. It's been very inconsistent as to what happens on a week-to-week basis. And it's easy to do with this particular car. But I mean, Brad's been deep in the field the last couple of weeks, just struggling.
I got to give a shout out to someone else who was basically 30th all night, but he actually made it. It's Daniel Suarez.
That was interesting. Yeah, they
gutted
did.
that one out.
Yep.
So we talk about the 19. It seemed like maybe there was a little bit of give up. Someone who didn't give up, even with the car as bad as it was Suarez. And I think he was on most people's bracket out. And they fought, and he was like 4. It was like 0 to 4 points, -2, like right there. And he's done this before. He gutted one out at the Roval with no power steering. So shout out to Suarez for getting that thing done.
Suarez advances on, and so too does Chase Briscoe. And I love this story. But again, I don't think any of us would have identified him as one to advance. But that team, they showed up in this round.
And I love the motivation. And last week at Watkins Glen, we touched on it a little bit, just about the maturity that came from the driver's seat and helping his crew chief make a firm decision, not beating around the bush, him hauling around. No, this is what I think we need to do, and that's what we're going to do. And that's what he did last week at Watkins Glen. But, it's always interesting to me this time of year when you see the difference in people and how they act and how they talk. And I think that's something that a few guys figure out how to carry that demeanor throughout a whole year. And this is the first time I've really seen that out of Chase Briscoe, to be that leader and, kind of be in there with the team and be the leader of the team. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people had a question about. Could he be the leader of a team and step up like he's going to next year in a high-profile situation with the 19 car and be that leader? But in order to be a great driver, you have to be a part of the leadership of the team and be able to be in there digging with the crew chief and the engineers to get the most out of your car and communicate and be able to shake things off and make the hard calls and not just, be in there saying, well, it didn't do good today because, we just got caught up in somebody else's mess. Right. Well, guess what? If you were 5 spots further forward, you probably wouldn't have been in somebody else's mess. So how about we start from the beginning of the race and we have that same determination all the way through the end?
Right. I was listening to the broadcast, obviously, and Kim Kuhn gave a report of where she talked to Richard Boswell, and he was saying how everything the team and Stewart-Haas Racing had been through, once Chase qualified for the playoffs, it really kind of put the wind back in the sails for everybody at the shop. What do you think the dynamic's been like over there from your own experiences there as well?
I think absolutely. I mean, winning cures all things, everything. And, you look at their Xfinity program. Cole Custer just ripped it away from JRM. He's the regular season champion there. He's trying to go back to back. Riley's had a good year. And now, now Chase is in the playoffs. And I think at this point, I would say that the 14 is the most dangerous team in the playoffs because it's an unknown. Yeah. And they have nothing to lose whatsoever. Fines, whatever. It don't matter. Just send it. So I think that if Chase makes it through this round, I'm fringe. I'm like almost putting him in my final 4.
What? Oh, I like that.
I mean, look at this round, right? They're going to go to Kansas, and it's kind of a mixed bag. Who knows? Who knows what will happen? But they got to go to Talladega, and the Fords are going to be fast.
Always.
He's a good road racer. Going to the Roval, a lot of unknowns with the reconfiguration of the track. Yep. So this is another round where it's who knows.
He gets 3 teammates.
Who's right and who's wrong.
He gets 3 teammates that are just going to be dedicated to helping him.
Right.
Yeah.
win Talladega. That matters a lot.
And you know, you look at SHR, and Priest has been in the top 10 the last 2 weeks. 10 cars kind of disappeared, but you know, the 4 cars they've been terrible the last couple of weeks with their performance, last 3 weeks. So you know, it's kind of been a mixed bag over there, but it's interesting to see. I love the determination out of his crew chief, Richard Boswell, out of the driver. And that just feeds to the rest of the team. And then you start to have those results to back it up. And then all of a sudden the confidence starts to go through the roof. And then it's just, all right, who gives a shit? I don't care what everybody else thinks, that if we should be here or shouldn't be here, we can do it.
That's
and
right.
you can walk that thing right through there with that type of confidence, and the car's fast enough.
I would be shocked if Riley Herbst wasn't racing Talladega in another car to help that out. I would be surprised if he wasn't. I don't know if he is or not, but that makes sense.
Well, you guys have kind of taken it there to the next round and previewing the round of 12. As Kevin mentioned, it's a unique round, very different racetracks as well. First up, we have the 1.5 miles of Kansas Speedway. Then we go to the Super Speedway of Talladega, close out the round at the Charlotte Roval, which has been in action for several years now. But the complexion of this round, like you said, it definitely is going to have its challenges for teams.
Well, I'm not going to make the mistake twice of underestimating a So
okay, so you saying now?
We have seen Kansas be crazy in the past with all kinds of things going on. You know, I think going there, if you look at past history, Christopher Bell is going to have a chance to qualify in a pole. You're going to have to run up next to the fence from qualifying on through the race, but you're going to have a versatile car. You're going to have to be able to maneuver yourself through traffic. The 5 and the 11 are going to be fast, and you know, who else steps up? Where are those Fords on the 1.5 mile racetrack? Is Joey Logano able to compete like he has been on all the rest of these racetracks and show up? Is Austin Cindric going to be able to get off on the right foot on a 1.5 mile racetrack? Is William Byron going to show back up? You know, I think for me, that's been the question mark with the performance is the 24 team.
At one point, he was asking Rudy Fugle, like, "Are we good?" Like he didn't even really know for certain if he was in a good points position to advance.
Yeah, and it's crazy when you get out of that, when you get out of rhythm. And those guys started the year off being in a rhythm to win races and overcome things throughout the day and maybe win some races over the last couple of years that they shouldn't win. And now they're out of rhythm. And it doesn't seem like they're able to put themselves in a position to where they can find the speed. And when you have a teammate like Kyle Larson, to be able to know that speed is there and you can't get that is frustrating. And you know, I just haven't seen a lot out of the 24, and I actually have him on my list of being out after this round.
Oh, we're gonna get into that list in a minute.
Someone who else is dangerous, I think, who's actually hitting their stride a little bit, is Alex Bowman in the 48 group.
Yeah,
I mean, the speed. You know, it's a pole at Bristol. We don't have another track like Bristol, but it all matters. It means you're clicking and doing the right things and getting the car to feel the way that Alex needs it to go fast. And if he's able to do that and maybe grab some of that 5-car speed.
Yeah, and look at everything he's kind of put to bed. Like, I really thought that they did a great job with the PR on that side of the world to kind of defuse the whole going to a different car. And now that car is situated, all those questions are gone with Justin Haley and Corey LaJoie swapping rides. So it's there's a lot that's been put to bed. But the biggest thing about that 48 team, qualified on the pole this week, have the results to go with it. And when you have the results to go with everything that you're doing on the racetrack, all the noise goes away.
It sure does. Yeah.
You know what's interesting though? You say that, but Brad Keselowski had an interesting quote with Bob, take with Bob.
Yeah,
and they were talking about the switch, and obviously he's in the middle of the 51 because that's part of their team, and he said something like along the lines of, "Well, we just couldn't compete with what Mr. H was bringing for opportunity and
For Justin
Haley, and we'll see what happens in 2026." Like, he almost was like, it was weird because he was like almost spilling some tea, but he didn't really.
not all the way.
He didn't spill it all
Just
the
like a
way, but he
drip.
just like kind of stirred the pot a little bit because he looked a little frustrated in that.
Well, it is frustrating when you get in those positions and you can't compete with the guy that you're competing against. And I think Hendrick puts people in that position a lot because they have the resources to pour into something when they want to make a change, right? And they can go out and make it happen. And, you know, sometimes from a team owner standpoint, you got to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone and make something happen, hoping that you get the results that go with it. And I think when you back up and you look at the Rick Ware situation and that being kind of embedded into the RFK shop and scenario. I just wonder if adding that car into the mix this year is some of the reason for the inconsistency in performance. And is there the workload that goes with all that? Has it spread their resources out more than what they were expecting? So I think there's those interesting dynamics that come with scenarios, but their speed has definitely not been what we expected it to be and been very hit or miss.
Yeah.
I know you'll hit on that driver swap for your sip a little
I
later
can't
in the
wait for
show.
that part.
So we're talking about the next round. I want to talk about Kansas a little more specifically. It is a 1.5 mile racetrack, but it does have its own character. What are the nuances of Kansas?
Yeah, so Kansas is I wish we could figure out why Kansas has aged the way that it aged because of the way that you can race on the racetrack. With the next gen car, the fast line and right from qualifying is going to be up against the fence. The lanes at Kansas are the grooves. When you look at those seams, those separate the lanes. You don't really want to split the seams. You can split the seams, the bottom seam going into turn 3 if you're going to run the middle lane and maybe get a little extra turn, but very much a rhythm racetrack, high speed. There's a bump going into turn 1 that we see guys get themselves in trouble with every once in a while. So very momentum based. And I think it's pretty obvious who the contenders have been at the next gen car at this particular track. And I think as we go forward, you're going to have to deal with the 5 again when you go to Kansas, but you're going to have to run on the simulator. I would never even run the bottom of the racetrack at this track. It would always be, hey, we're going to run the middle, but I got to be in a rhythm on the top. So you need to have those visuals and rhythm to go with running that high lane.
Okay.
If you run good at Kansas, do you think it translates to like a Vegas and a Homestead?
Not as much.
Okay.
I think that Vegas is the surface is worn out. I think that it will transfer more to Vegas than it will Homestead. But I think if you're good on the 1.5 mile racetracks and you've got the downforce and the balance to go with what you need and what you need in the car to make those cars drive good, I think you're going to be good. We've seen the Hendrick and Gibbs cars be pretty dominant over the last couple of years at Kansas. So it's interesting to see exactly how it'll shake out, but I would go with the history on this one.
Isn't sometimes the wind a factor there too?
The wind does blow a lot there. And one thing that the wind does with the way that it can blow, usually it'll blow the opposite direction from one day to the next. So it really screws you up. But, if that wind gets to blowing down the back straightaway, it can kind of cause a little bit of
disturbance,
a tailwind, but also kind of keep the car tight going into turn 3, which kind of messes up the flow of that particular corner. And at Kansas, when you get that flow of the corner off of turn 4, the wall kind of comes back straight down the straightaway. Yep. So it's got kind of a funky exit where you'll see a lot of guys hit the wall on the exit of turn 4.
I know the trucks are out there this weekend. Are you going? Are you out there for pit road?
I'm not out there for pit road, but I am out there for driver intros.
Chief hype duties.
Chief hype duties.
Hyping.
Like it.
Coming back.
When you head out.
I think I head out Saturday.
Okay.
I have an event for promoting Homestead first in Miami.
At Kansas?
No.
Oh, I was like, that makes sense.
And then I'll go to Kansas. I love going to Kansas. The
barbecue.
The food is great out there. I like the racing. The track is amazing. I like going downtown Kansas.
It is fun.
It's pretty fun down there. I think it's
what's that one lounge everyone goes to in downtown Kansas? It's got like a weird name.
I know the area is like the Light District, but I don't know the lounge itself.
I know
District.
For me, I've spent, I can't even tell you how many years we've spent on the back straightaway. We would go
at the casino,
eat dinner at the casino.
Yeah.
We'd sit next to the window and watch the truck race, eat dinner, and then go back to whether the infield or the hotel. We've done that for I don't know how many years, but cool story from last year. I had to do a Busch appearance at the casino, and I said, well, I'll do the appearance, but I want to have dinner with Kaitlyn and watch the truck race. So the restaurant was basically closed. And so Kaitlyn got to come in the casino.
Right.
He had to walk on the floor, could not touch the carpet. Strict rules. Had to take a security guard, walk him on the floor, not touching the carpet, all the way back to the restaurant. They walked him in the restaurant, and
why?
He and I had.
Why is that?
It's
he's
just
not allowed to.
Yeah,
underage.
He's underage.
Oh yeah.
So they walked him back to the restaurant, and we had dinner in there, and the server comes up and he's like, "Can I take a picture with your son?" I said, okay. It's kind of weird, but
yeah, that's
sure.
a
No
little
problem.
weird.
Kinda
So
weird.
he walks in, takes a picture. I said, "What? I mean, do you watch him race?" No, he's just the only child that's ever been into the restaurant. So I wanted to say that I actually served a child in the restaurant, and then
That's funny.
You know, we walked out, and 2 security guards couldn't touch the carpet right out the front door. So
Wow.
If you're watching that as like just a
Yeah.
patron, you're like, this kid must be like,
he's a big
yeah,
deal.
big
if he's
deal.
in
You know
here.
what I mean? He's viral out here.
getting-
I think
Escorted.
for me that was always kind of a tradition to go there and eat dinner, and he was there with me, and I wasn't going to break tradition.
No,
That's right.
But that racetrack, that area of the racetrack actually used to be Eric Stone Street's family farm.
Oh, really?
What?
Yeah, turn 2 of the Kansas Speedway was
wow.
the Stone Street family farm.
That's wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so when I went out there to do my first appearance, a Winter Circle appearance in 2001, I had to go to Kansas, and there was not anything but the highway and the racetrack there. They built that whole thing.
Now it's
Everything
a whole
there has been
entertainment
built
center.
around,
Yeah.
around the racetrack, and now it's a great place to go because there's so much to do.
It is. It's a really cool area. What barbecue place do you always go to? And do you have a go-to?
No, I don't have a go-to.
What's that? Fiorella's or something? What's that one?
I'm not much
No.
into barbecue.
No?
No, I
do you
don't
know what
know.
I'm talking about?
We need Clint. Clint would know what it
He
is.
would.
Oh, God, he
Lord,
would.
he would
Jesus.
Yeah.
know. Kansas.
Kansas and Clint
expert.
are very entertaining.
They're
We went last year somewhere, and I don't even know where we went. We ate until we were sick.
Oh, you'll have
I
that.
remember you guys talked about that on the broadcast. I remember that.
It's going to be a good weekend. So I have here who has the most momentum. Are you saying Larson is the guy on that one?
Has to be. Yeah.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think, are we picking?
Mm,
Is that what we're doing?
no,
No, we don't have to
Okay.
pick. Well, we're going to
Yeah.
pick who we think's going to get eliminated.
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
what we're doing right
I think the 5 with their past history and everything that they've done, momentum from this particular weekend, the fact that Kyle Larson's already sitting in the shop from our victory lap interview on Monday, they're focused. I think a lot of the teams are focused on Kansas to try to get this round off to a good start because it's the most they can control.
Yeah.
Out of a race weekend as we go forward.
Yeah, because you don't want to go to Talladega
Ugh.
in a bad
Oh,
stitch.
that's terrible.
So,
Yeah.
So we're picking our 4 out.
Well, I'm asking who you think has the most momentum
Okay,
going
okay,
in
okay.
first.
It's definitely, it's definitely the 5
Yeah.
has the most momentum. I think they are trying to take a hold of the playoff, the rest of this playoffs, and make sure they punch their ticket early into the next round and into Phoenix. So I think right now the playoffs run through the 5, and Kyle Larson and Cliff Daniels in that group. It's hard to see. The other ones are so close.
Yeah.
It is so
seems-
close. Like
he
when you look at
seems-
those points and you see everything that goes with that bottom part of the grid, man,
Yeah.
Mm.
it is going to be
Mhm.
stressful from lap 1
The-
in
and-
Kansas.
I wonder
That's
how
true.
the 45 of Tyler Reddick and that group handles the stress because they are very fast and have had a really great year.
Currently above the line,
Currently
plus 20.
above the line, plus 20. But you want to show the 5 that you're going to have to deal with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They've been back and forth all year on points. So.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Kansas and you talk about Tyler Reddick, I think that running that high groove and being able to do that, I think their cars
Yep.
fall in line with the Gibbs cars to have the speed. It's just going to come down to the mistakes. We saw Bubba Wallace ran good this week at Bristol, finished 3rd. Tyler didn't run as well. We did hear some intensity on the radio out of Billy and Tyler going back and forth when Tyler said, "Hey, make sure the 11 knows what I did for him there." And he's like, "Hey, man, I hope you didn't do anything for the 11," which he obviously already did.
Yeah.
Hope you didn't
Yeah.
do anything for the 11, giving him points because now they were actually at a point where they were racing, could have been racing the 11 a lot closer than what they had. So don't worry about your boss. Go out and try to win the race and take care of your own business. You don't need to worry about more than you need to worry about at this point.
Right.
So those are teams we're confident in. This kind of goes together. Least confident and who we think is going to be eliminated.
Least confident for me is the 99. I think they've got to go to Kansas and put something together. He's a good road racer. I haven't seen the super speedway speed that I'd like to see out of the 99. So if they're going to be in the mix, they're going to have to minimize the damage at Kansas. They're going to have to go to Talladega and make a decent day out of it, and then be pretty good at the Roval. But that's going to be tough to do. So for me, it's the 99, the 24, the 14, and the 9.
Okay.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
Put the 9 in there.
Yeah, I put the 9 in there. They did good at Bristol. I just think that you're going to have to make some noise, and you're going to have to show that you're a contender, leading laps and running up front as you get closer to the round of 8 and the round of 4. They've run okay.
Yeah.
They've been decent, but they just haven't shown that speed
Yeah.
that the 5 has to be able to do it. Bristol wound up being a pretty good day for them because they hung out and qualified well and put themselves in a position to have a decent day to get through the first round. So, I question the 24. I just don't know what's going to happen for the Fords at Kansas. That's why I put the 14 in there. I think that at some point that momentum runs out and reality sets in. So it's it was hard to pick because of Talladega and the Fords and knowing what they can do.
Yeah, looking at the points there, I think Cindric, Joey Logano, they got to just, and not the 99 of Suarez, they got to hit singles. Like, just keep the pressure on.
Yeah.
Like, don't, like, if you feel like you have a chance to go win, go do that. But you got to
don't beat yourself.
Don't beat yourself. You got to keep the points gap really close. So as close as you can. So it puts pressure on everyone else in front of you that thinks that they're fast enough.
And when I was in this position before, and you were in this position where it's like, okay, I'm not really sure I can go win a race. How do I score as many points as possible?
Exactly.
And people will tell you, oh, we're here to win. There's some of you that can't win. And you need to start counting points. And you need to be able to, you need to know where you are.
Yeah,
Right.
Right? Like if you're going to Kansas, if you're some of those Fords, you know that probably not going to win today. So how do I maximize my day and score points and don't make mistakes? You know that people are going to make mistakes. We've seen it. The 19, the 54. We saw the 11. I mean, you could almost name the whole field. Kyle Larson at Atlanta. So you know they're going to make mistakes. So just don't be that guy. And you can get away with that for one more round.
I think round, if last round I said was about execution, this round is about aggression.
Yeah.
I think you got to be aggressive because the next round is about winning, period. Like the round of 8, you got to win to get in. That's the mentality I would have.
So one thing I've always found interesting about this time of year, and obviously I was never on a team, but like you have Hendrick that has 4, cars advancing. How much information sharing is taking place? Because it's starting to really matter. And then you have Stuart Haas, where it's just one guy in, so that kind of simplifies things, right? Because they can all focus on just chase.
Yeah.
What's that dynamic like?
Well, I think that the information, I mean, it stays open. The flow of information stays open. But I mean, there's a clear dominant car at Hendrick, and that's the 5. I think when you look at right now, I think the 48 was the second best car in the first round, and then the 9 and the 24. So, I think it's that information is always going to be there and it's always going to flow and everybody's always going to know what's going on. And the rest, they just leave up to their drivers. There's just no way that you can take that away, until you get to maybe the last race. But even there, I think it's, all the work that is done during the week is just different.
Yeah.
This points is the tightest it's ever been.
It's going to be interesting.
It's wide open. And
wide open.
I'm loving every bit of it.
Yes. You know what else we love every bit of?
I know it. Say it.
Mamba's social sips.
Yes. Let's
Ego
go.
just gets so high at this portion of the show.
Big head. Now it's a bear head. No hair.
Yeah. No hair. Adulting. Oh, I guess I need to take a sip.
You need to take a sip. All right. I can't wait till we have actual
booze
stuff in that. That's not one.
Maybe the last.
Anyway, welcome to Mamba's Social Sips, America's favorite segment on FS1.
Oh my God. Is he ever going to freaking stop saying that?
No. Okay, so let's start here, guys. There was this was the closest thing that we've ever seen to a trade, probably in NASCAR. Corey LaJoie is leaving Spire. We knew that already, but he's leaving early, going to the 51.
Yeah,
of
effective
Rick Ware,
immediately.
Effectively this weekend.
Yeah.
And the Justin Haley that was driving the 51 at Rick Ware is now going back home where he originated at Spire, and he won at Daytona once for them. So there's a nice little picture here. Now it's kind of it's
nice
hard for
picture.
Kev to see, but Kevin sitting there with the guy that you're trading rides with and your boss and old boss.
This
I
is
feel like
so
that's just
awkward.
really awkward.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's the first time that this has ever happened where drivers change seats in the middle of the year.
But so it's direct.
I think it's directly communicated amongst the two teams to be almost walking hand in hand
And
to make the change. And here we are to present ourselves with the most awkward press conference that we could possibly have. Here are our drivers, and now let's talk about switching teams. So who wins? Who made out on this?
Nobody.
I don't know. I think honestly, I think Justin, because he's in that car next year, it's good for them to get started. With LaJoy, they haven't announced that he's driving it next year. So Corey, I think it's been a really tough year. He needs to show some spark in this thing.
Carried right over to the race.
Yeah. And I think, look, the 7 car has run good. The 7 and 77 have had a handful of weeks where they've run well. I think, the way that Corey's race ended this week, with the accident and everything that happened has kind of been the way that things have gone over the last few months or couple years. And I think when you look at the 51 of Justin Haley and the things that he's done in the car, I would say he's the guy that's come out ahead on this particular scenario from car performance.
Right.
Yeah.
How that goes as far as personnel and how everybody meshes, who knows? And who knows what the plan is? Is that car going to get more embedded at RFK or what happens? So it's still extremely awkward and strange and not the common way to do this.
The meshing will need to happen right away.
Yeah.
'Cause here we are. We're switching.
We're going to critique it
in
next
the
week.
moment.
They switch manufacturers, sponsors, and you know what I mean? Like there's a whole lot of things. So I brought this up really because do you guys think we'll ever get to a point to where we'll be able to have trades?
Well, I think right now, I think that the pit crew thing should be more coordinated than it actually is.
I agree.
I think that those guys should have to go into some sort of system,
Draft.
some sort of draft.
I love that.
You pay this guy's
Players
locked
union
into
type
our
thing.
team to keep all that interesting. I think it would be super interesting.
It would
to
be,
to have a pit crew draft and have those guys.
Yes.
Oh, this is the highest paid tire changer that we've ever seen in NASCAR racing, and I think it would be awesome.
I think it would be
I do
amazing.
too.
Yeah.
And it puts those guys are athletes and they are great at what they do.
They are more a part of the show now than they have ever been.
So put them on the front line.
Put them on the big
Put
stage.
them on the big stage. I love it. All right, moving right along. Wait, what did I lose it? Oh, there it is.
Bobby P.
Bobby P. Love Bob Pockris.
Oh.
And you guys know at Bristol, they did a little foam party for the
They
night.
do.
Foam Bob.
And Foam Bob was
What'd you call him earlier? Oh, Bubble Bob.
Bubble Bob.
Bubble Bob.
Forget Foam Bob. Let's call him Bubble Bob.
And he was having a good time. And here
Oh,
he
he
is
was. Yes.
doing his thing. He has friends. He has a lot of friends in there with him. There's a
He
lot of
did
people.
have a lot of
The
friends.
Hey, the
foam
race
party was
fans
good.
know who Bob Pockris is. And
I'm telling
most
you.
people say, why don't you just follow when I was looking for the TV station or the app or whatever I was looking for the other day? Well, just look at Bob. He'll tell you what channel
Yeah,
it's
just
on.
ask Bob.
Yes.
If you need information, follow Bob Pockris.
I did a Q&A with Bob. He was one of my people that came into the loyalty lounge, and the line to go meet him after he was done, to your point, the fans love him. And I know why, because of shit like this. He's just one of them.
That guy right there, the goofy bubble guy, is the one that called Martin Truex. He's out.
Yep.
He called that before it even got started. So he's pretty switched on.
He's the best of both worlds. Like, he can have fun and be that person, and then can be the most respected journalist in the whole deal.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, he's
great.
honest. He's fair.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah.
And I think from a driver standpoint, we've talked about this. Everybody will give Bob a great interview because of the fact that they know he's done his homework.
Yeah, Bob,
yes, he
we love
has. Yeah.
you. And now there's a little bit of we'll call it homekeeping that we gotta address.
Housekeeping.
Kevin had no home, not house,
Homekeeping. Okay.
home because the home. Kevin went to soccer.
I hate these surprises.
He went to soccer.
How did you
with
find out
Piper.
about this, by the way?
I know people.
The source?
I have
Okay.
sources.
His wife?
Piper might have texted me. Who knows?
Yeah.
And left her cleats at the house.
No.
Okay.
What is going on?
First off, let's get this story straight.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I am getting ready to go to the soccer game, and Delana rips the shower door open, and she says, "We gotta go. We're gonna be late." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" All of a sudden, soccer's
Oh my
serious
God.
here. So I get out of the shower, I hurry to get ready, and I go to get in the car, and I sit in the car, and of course I'm driving. And so I get from the back seat, you're gonna make me late, Dad. And I hear the chirping from the passenger seat from Delaney. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
Two ladies coming in on you.
So I'm frustrated and mad. All the same, because I'm getting chewed out by the 6-year-old in the back seat, and the general in the passenger seat is ripping my ass. Okay. So we get to the soccer field, and she's like, will you put Piper's cleats on? I said, okay.
No.
So I get the chairs out of the back of the car. I get the soccer bag out of the back of the car. I take Piper out of her car seat, and I go to open the bag.
Empty bag.
We got no cleats. We got no ball. We don't need a ball, but
We need the
we
cleats.
But is that your job to get the cleats typically?
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, well, what were your happy asses doing while you were bitching and complaining about me getting to the car on time and getting to the soccer team, and we don't even have any freaking cleats? Well, luckily, we have not worn tennis shoes either, so we have pink slides.
Nice.
Yep. So we put our shin guards on, and we put our cleats on, or our slides on with our shin guards, and we go to the soccer field. And at this point, Mom is in a complete panic. So we're 15 minutes. So she drives back, and I'm sitting next to the soccer field. And next thing I know, Piper's in the game with her slides on.
No.
Oh yeah. So we played the first half of soccer with our slides on. Now, granted, we have a 5-foot buffer to the ball, so we hover around 5 feet from the ball. So you know,
We're in the way.
we ran fine in our slides. So it gets better.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So Mom comes back. So I walk to the front because there's no parking. So I grab the cleats. I put Piper's cleats on, and we're in the game, kicking the ball, doing what we need to do. Still highly frustrated. Yeah, because I just can't let it go at this point. So I'm sitting in the chair, and my wife comes over, and she sits down. She's like, well, it got better. And I'm thinking to myself, how could this freaking get better? We're hovering 5 feet from the ball. We had no cleats when we got to our first game. Tell me, how did it get better? Well, big gust of wind came, and as I was opening the gates to go out, the wind blew the gate the opposite direction, and the gate blew off the hinge. And so I had to go push the gate open to get out. And so I'm thinking to myself, man, this day of the first soccer game couldn't have gone any better.
Yeah.
Well,
Sounds like it. Just
was
top to
awesome.
bottom success.
I love that for you. And I'm
Yeah.
sure when Delana hears this podcast episode
That's
that you'll just be
hilarious,
in deeper water now.
I'll
so.
just be the real asshole that I was on that particular game. But thanks for bringing that up.
Nothing like
welcome.
kids' sports to bring out the
I
best
love
in
it.
everybody.
First soccer game, it's a forever story.
Sorry.
We had no
Forever
cleats. We
story.
played in pink slides.
So from one dad moment to another, Kyle Larson's
Yes.
burnout
It was
was on a
amazing.
high of the dad moments versus Kevin's low. The burnout itself, now Bristol's hard. You've won
That's
there
a
bunch
tough
of- It's
one
a
to do
hard
a
one to do a burnout at.
He did a
But-
pretty decent job.
Yeah, it was good, but I don't know how he knew this part. So when he rolls up here and I saw him stop next to the pace car, and I thought it was because he thought he was going to hit it. But then out of nowhere,
They must have
Oh.
had it planned.
Yeah, like,
to
oh,
have this.
I mean, he's doing
'Cause
his
it was a
burnout
boys'
in turn
weekend.
3 right next to the tunnel. So this was obviously
There's your friend
obviously
Steven
planned.
with the assist on Owen.
Yeah.
the
Engine
legend,
tuner.
look at him, engine tuner from Vermont, by the way, doing big things. Proud of your kid. That mustache is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
So he took what you did with Kaitlyn and bumped it up a notch.
Yeah.
And all I was thinking in my mind was, there is no way they're happy to see this.
Yeah,
I love this number
this is
one.
this is the whole scenario. And when you're winning a lot of races and you're talking about what you're going to do next, these are the types of things, the conversations that Kyle and Owen are having, I'm sure. As far as victory celebrations, but
Yeah.
I'm sure they weren't happy about him hanging out of the car, but it was still really cool.
Memorable moment.
Yeah,
That
the
is
burnout
really
was
neat.
the burnouts are hard to do at Bristol, and that was an average burnout, but that was
But the
pretty,
moment was-
pretty high level.
Okay,
moment.
so where are we placing that one on the list?
Just somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it can't
Okay.
because it wasn't the burnout wasn't what made it special. It was
the
moment.
other
And
celebrations.
also, if you
Yeah.
see Kyle win on anything dirt specifically, Owen is in victory lane on top of the wing.
Yeah.
And that's their thing.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's so cool to watch.
So cool to be able to share those moments, and so cool that
That's
he's winning
awesome.
enough races to be able to be creative and
Yeah.
with the next victory celebration. Maybe Owen will drive the car next.
Maybe. Yeah, we can't wait to see what
It's
happens
about the
next.
same height.
Yeah.
So
Golly.
Damn. All right, guys. Good sips today.
Thanks.
Yeah, solid. I like that party. Okay, it's time now for our last call. And of course, in the last call, first thing we do is give a pick for Kansas. I'm going with Kyle Larson.
Yep, me too.
There you go. Momentum just going to keep it rolling for the 5 crew. What do you say? He's
Go
probably
against it, bud.
I have to.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna go.
You don't have to be a loser.
No, I'm choosing to be a loser.
Okay.
I don't think you've gotten one all year.
Listen, I think I have one top 5 all year.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
They're gonna really appreciate it.
I feel really bad, but I haven't picked him all year, I don't think. And I'm going to go with Christopher Bell.
I like that pick.
C. Bell.
Yeah.
I think, I just think that this track is really good for them. He's mile and a half, running the top, can run anywhere. I would go Tyler Reddick too, but I think, or him, because 2311 has dominated Kansas.
Yeah.
Like 45 specifically, that number wins at Kansas a lot, but I'm going with Christopher Bell.
Yeah, it's funny story from the first race. We were there, and I knew Christopher Bell was going to run the top in qualifying because they did it the race before. And we're getting ready to go to qualifying. We did practice, and I told Clint, I said, hey, look, they're going to run the top of the racetrack for qualifying too, and it's going to be Christopher Bell that's probably going to be on the pole because he just did it last year. We turned on the qualifying episode, and my man, and we're looking for him to go right to the bottom of the racetrack. I'm like, what do you listen to anything that I say? And Christopher Bell went to the top, got the pole.
That's funny.
Looked at Clint,
really? Yeah. Okay.
Forgetful.
Slightly.
Yeah.
Short-term memory loss.
That's right.
Mhm. So those are our picks. So we both picked Larson, which reminds me of your victory lap interview is now available with Kyle Larson, the big Bristol winner. But you have a Thursday episode with Justin Marks. This would be cool.
Yeah, I think, Justin just has such a unique spot in this sport right now with his creativity and the things that he's done with his race team. You got to remember, this race team started as a 1-car team with Daniel Suarez in 2021. Now we're talking about going to 3 cars and winning races and MotoGP team and all the things that Trackhouse has become in a pretty short amount of time. So I can't wait to hear some of his insight.
He's always very interesting interview. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I think is super cool that he's been able to do, because now they're a global motorsports brand, is that it just so happens that they have Red Bull drivers. And I think that's so cool. I just think that that brand brings so much attention, and SVG, and now
we have to get Red Bull to let us be involved in these Flutogs and these races, because I just believe that you would be a great pilot of the bicycle or the airplane or some of these things.
Look at this.
I agree with that.
How can we get Red Bull to let us participate in these?
At least in the downhill derby with the
you would drive it.
Yeah, the self-made little.
But you would drive it.
Yeah. You ride shotgun, right?
No.
No.
I will be waiting at the. No, you're not.
No, Dad said
absolutely not.
I'm in.
You're gonna have to find a co-pilot. Maybe it's producer Tyler. Maybe.
Yeah, we nominate Tyler
Kinda
for
hides
this
at home and-
activity.
He's been taking so many L's the last couple of weeks. We got to give him something back. So, Tyler, you ride shotgun with me.
He said that's so generous. Wow, thanks so much. He says, I like that idea.
We'll leave that up to you.
Yeah.
Well, you got to help me.
You got to figure out. Let's just ask SVG.
Okay.
There you go. Problem solved.
Yeah.
All right. It's been another fun one in the books here. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, leave a 5-star review, and we will see all of the closers after this weekend.